Hello, everyone. My name is Matt, and I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Awâto. Today, I'm going to be walking you through our company, our platform, and our partnership with the Department of Education. Our agenda for today looks like this. We'll start with a brief background on the company, talk about our project scope, benefits, and training, do a live demo of our assessments, go on to pathways and work-based learning, and talk a little bit about a project we're doing in Manchester. To start with our company background, our name is pronounced Awâto, as in a way to better career pathways. And we're based in Manchester, New Hampshire, in the old Hesser College building. We're on a mission to help every learner find their path. We've been doing that now for over 4 years. We serve over 25 colleges across the country, and last year we began working with the Department of Education on their vision for the future of K-12 pathways in the state. So what are we exactly? We consider ourselves a personalized career pathfinding platform. And the key word there is pathfinding. A traditional pathways platform requires that either you or the vendor builds a pathway for a student. And then the student picks from a limited number of combinations, and they're locked into what they select. As a company, we started doing that, and we found that it was terribly cumbersome for both us and our partners. And that's why we invented pathfinding, which enables us to use mapping and artificial intelligence to identify all the different pathways a student can take. And then that way we are able to identify their best pathway and let them control and adjust as necessary. And the way we like to envision this is a standard way to do pathways would be to give someone MapQuest directions. But what we do is more like giving someone Google Maps. They're allowed to change directions and reroute, and they can always get to where they're going from where they are. To speak a little bit about our actual project with the Department of Education. The project came about because of SB 276, the Drive to 65 Act. The act requires that entering freshmen are required to take a career assessment, that assessment would document pathways to a career readiness credential, that students would be advised on how they could achieve the career readiness credential, and then all of that would be recorded on the transcript. What's great about Awâto is that we built this to be in total compliance with SB 276, and by using it, you'll meet all of the criteria. But beyond compliance, we believe that Awâto is a great fit for you all, particularly in being able to help increase student awareness of opportunities and pathways, increase career engagement and career outcomes, increase work-based learning opportunities and participation, and improve graduation rates. To speak a little bit about the training that we'll be doing. Trainings will begin in August. Starting back in May and continuing for the foreseeable future, we'll be doing weekly webinars just in case you want to check in quickly with us and ask any questions. In August, we'll do both group trainings and school-specific trainings. And if you'd like to do a school-specific training, please reach out to either me or Ray, and we'll set that up for you. Also, we'll be partnering with at least one local professional development firm to provide additional training with a bit more professional development focus. And now I'd like to actually show you a bit more of what the product looks like. So we're going to dive into a live demo. When students get to our assessment page, they'll have an option of 6 different assessments, which you can see on my screen here. The 6 assessments are interests, inclinations, values, 16 types, social, and aspirations. Our interest assessment is based on person-object theory of interest. Inclinations is based on theory of multiple intelligences. Values is based on job characteristic theory. 16 types is based on a Myers-Briggs. Social is based on emotional intelligence. And aspirations is a goal-setting assessment. Today, I want to show you a little bit more about our interest assessment. Our interest assessment takes about 10 minutes, and we see an organic completion rate of about 90%. It's also worth noting here that our new version that we'll be rolling out this summer will be updated to have a 6th grade reading level, so some of the words you see here may be changed out for more concrete and shorter terms. So instead of asking students questions like, on a scale of 1 to 5, do you enjoy building kitchen cabinets? We want to get personalized right from the start. So we ask them, what do you enjoy doing in your free time? And today, we'll type in knitting and chess. But students can type in thousands of different things, as specific as Dungeons and Dragons, or as broad as watching TV. For every single hobby, we have a special question written for it. And before we get to those hobby questions, we ask this question as well. What course material would you be excited to learn more about? We'll skip that during the demo, but that gives us an idea of what areas students like to engage with now academically. And then we'll see these. So as I mentioned before, we're going to have a specific knitting question. And you can see that with the phrase holding the needles, playing with yarn, and working with my hands. Here, we're going to select creating something to have and working with my hands. And then you can see what happens. As we learn and adapt to the user, we ask appropriate follow-up questions. There are 340 possible follow-up questions, but users will only see the 20 most applicable to them. This ensures that we keep users engaged and curious about their next question without ever boring them with redundant questions. We'll select a few here so that you can see what this looks like. We'd like to note now, if you want to try the interest assessment, you can always create a free account at awâto.org to do just that. And here again, we'll select a few questions. I think it would make sense to take a pause here and show you a bit about what the results themselves look like. So when a student has done the interest assessment, they'll see the hobbies they put in, the interests that we were able to identify, as well as their calling codes. So you get all of that data from one very simple assessment. Students can then move on to any of the other assessments or hop into Explore or their Pathways area. To get back into our presentation here, I'll talk a little bit about career exploration. So students are going to be able to explore in our platform careers, education, and education providers or schools. Simply, we support over 800 careers that students are able to explore in a Pinterest-like area where they can set certain tags and find the careers they're looking for. And then they can favorite the ones they like. They can click in and learn more about them, and they can do this similar process with education options like majors and then schools as well. Once they have some idea of what they'd like to do, they can compare pathways. And this is where that pathfinding comes into it. So we can identify multiple different ways a student can achieve a certain career goal and let them compare those, or they can select a couple different career goals and compare the different options. And this allows them to explore things like, what would it mean to go to community college and then transfer? Or is there a way that I could start working after school and go to school at night? Once they have some idea of what they'd like to do, they're able to go into our individual pathing area. It's important to note that a big part of what we're doing with the Department of Education is local pathing. So our platform is going to include every CTE program in the state, every university and community college program, and major apprenticeships and internships. We think this is really going to be helpful for students because they'll be able to identify resources based on their goals right in our platform. And what that will look like is once they select a path, they'll be able to see all the major milestones they need to complete on that path. They can start to work down the path and add or substitute steps and see where they might have different options. Moving forward, every single one of our careers will track toward a professional credential. Students will be able to see the steps they need to get to the professional credential, track against it, and then see when they've completed the credential. On the back end, as educators, you'll be able to report on what credential they're tracking toward, the steps they're taking, and when they've achieved it. Beyond career pathing and career pathways, we're also going to be working hands-on with our employers to create work-based learning opportunities. And the idea is that students will be able to click into the work-based learning area and see employers and opportunities that fit their career goals. The way this works is the Department of Education will have an umbrella work-based learning area where employers will be able to connect, fill out paperwork, and then post their opportunities. Each school will have their own area where they can approve or deny opportunities and add their own school-specific opportunities. This way, employers are able to post to multiple schools at once, and schools are able to keep specific partnerships they have close and within their school. For students, they can quickly see what they might want to do, see if they are qualified for the opportunity. They can use our in-application resume builder to build a resume, and then they can simply apply for the job using that very resume, and then track their application status. Once their application status is changed to hired, they'll be able to track their time as well. On the back end, as educators, you'll be able to report on all of this activity, what students are applying for, what students are accepted for, and how many hours they're doing. More important than time tracking though, I think the real benefit to this will be creating more opportunities for your students by really easing the burden on ELO coordinators and counselors to try and find the connections and giving them more time to really foster the relationship between the student and the employer and show them how they can get the most out of these work-based learning opportunities. On the back end, just to give you an idea, employers will be able to log in, manage the candidates who have applied for their positions, and see how those applications are going to benefit their workforce in the long term. I'm going to pause here and just briefly explain that everything we just went over is going to be offered to all middle schools and high schools in the state of New Hampshire at no cost. The other thing I'd like to touch on here is some additional work we're doing in the Manchester School District. This counts as an optional investment that you can work with us on if you're interested, and please reach out if it's something you'd like to learn more about. The Manchester project came about because as they heard about what the Department of Education was doing, they noticed that for them to implement the platform, they would need some additional features. You want to make sure everyone's available, that these are at least available to them so that they know that if there are things here that they need, that we can provide them. The 4 areas are student portfolio, requirements tracking, class management, and career videos. Student portfolio will allow students to save activities like classes, assessments, work-based learning experiences, volunteering, resumes, videos, projects, letters of recommendation, and much more in one place. They can be saved for both employers and be shown to educators as well. Requirements tracking came about when we really learned that all high school diplomas are not created equal. Some students will need to take different courses than other students beyond what the minimum requirements for graduation are. And the idea behind requirements tracking is, could we create a visual way to track both the requirements to graduate at the school and other requirements like NCAA and NH Scholars, all in one easy place with a visual progression. And this is what that looks like. What's great about this is all of these requirements are customized to your school. So you can say, this is what our graduation requirements are. We'd like to add these additional elements, and we'd like to support NCAA and NH Scholars, for instance. With that, of course, we would need to have class management. And so we're building integrations with all the major SIS systems to pull out your classes, bring those into Awâto, and then recommend the right classes for students based on what they need to graduate, what they need to meet their other goals, and what they're going to be interested in and have connections with their career goals. On the back end, we want to make sure this data can be especially helpful to you all when you're creating your master schedule. So you'll be able to see in the future what areas have demand from a class perspective. And finally, we'll be supporting career videos through our partnership with Candid Career. And this will allow students to easily watch videos on what a person does in a specific job, how they got there, what made them successful, and what they like and don't like about it. Overall, that was what I wanted to cover today. So I think this gives you a good overview of what we're doing in New Hampshire. Please reach out to the contact information there if you have any questions or if you'd like to set up a time to talk further. Thank you all so much and have a great day. Bye now.